I'm Kate, a 40-year-old woman who juggles a part-time job with household chores. I live with my husband Ted, who's 2 years older than me, and our beloved cat. We've been married for 15 years, but I can't say I've been completely content. One reason is our unfulfilled wish for a child. Another is Ted's lack of help around the house despite his modest paycheck. On his days off, he prefers to laze about. Ted has always been a bit of a mama's boy, even in his 40s. He eagerly visits his mom, who lives nearby and has been lonely since his dad passed away. However, she's far from frail. She's got a nasty streak and lacks any semblance of refinement. The other day, I was standing in line at the grocery store when I accidentally let out a loud fart. Embarrassed, I turned around and blamed the person behind me. My mother-in-law, who was with me, laughed as she shared her shopping experience. Ted joined in the laughter, but I was completely grossed out. I couldn't believe such a vulgar woman was my mother-in-law. She has such an unpleasant character that she has very few friends, and it seems her only hobby is bullying her daughter-in-law. I wouldn't mind going to my in-laws' house if I got along with my mother-in-law. But no daughter-in-law would want to get close to a mother-in-law like her. Ted's older brother and his wife, Rose, couldn't stand her and moved out. Even after Ted's brother Ron passed away, patient and tolerant Rose couldn't bear living with her anymore. Despite this, my mother-in-law recently requested that we move in with her. I vowed to prevent it. However, during a recent visit to her house, she gathered both couples and announced that it was time for us to live together. She spoke as if it was already decided and even started discussing the timing of moving in. I was flabbergasted. Huh? Wait a minute. I don't want to live together, I said, remembering how much trouble Rose went through. I'm not asking you, I'm asking Ted, she retorted, ignoring my refusal. Ted, to my disbelief, agreed. Well, I don't mind living together. It would be easier for Kate to take care of Mom for living together, wouldn't it? Caregiving? Me? You must be joking, I retorted incredulously. Are you serious, asking me to take care of you after all the bullying you've done to Rose and me? She made a dissatisfied face. Oh dear, that sounds bad. I was just educating you a little as a senior housewife. Education? Are you really the one to talk about education? I thought to myself, I don't want to live together or take care of you. If you insist on living together, I'll get a divorce, I declared firmly. Ted panicked. Whoa, wait, talking about divorce over something like this is a bit over the top. Over the top? Trying to force me into living together and caregiving without considering my feelings is a legitimate reason for divorce, I replied. I have a job and a stable income, so I won't have any problem even if I get divorced, I retorted, leaving Ted speechless. Well, if Kate really doesn't want to, then I guess we have no choice but to ask your brother and Rose to come back, my mother-in-law said, causing Rose to panic. I can't live with my mother-in-law again. It would ruin my mental health. Absolutely not, Rose exclaimed. However, this time her husband tried to calm her down. Calm down, Rose. Yes, Mom might have been a bit hard on you before, but she was doing it for your sake. She's regretted it too. Regret? I can't see any sign of her regretting anything at all, I interjected. That's right, you never talk back, no matter what I say. So there's no excitement for me either. It's difficult when a daughter-in-law has a personality like Kate, but it's also difficult when she doesn't say anything, my mother-in-law added. That's right, you also have things to reflect on, don't you? Ted's brother chimed in unexpectedly, leaving Rose at a loss for words. I stood there, stunned and speechless. Besides, Rose has always been a stay-at-home mom. If you divorce, you'll struggle financially right away. You're not working like Kate, Ted's brother said, which encouraged the mother-in-law to join in. That's true, Rose. If you keep being selfish, your husband will leave you. If a woman with neither good looks nor a good figure gets dumped, all she can do is end up on the street, she said. Where exactly is this mother-in-law showing remorse? I seriously wondered. She seemed to be getting more and more carried away. Rose used to be cute when she was young. Now she's gained quite a bit of weight. Oh yeah, you heard about the news of the big deals at the zoo, didn't you? She asked. Deals? I'd like to see it, Ted's brother replied, starting to laugh. Oh, that's awful. Are you suggesting I'm like a seal? Rose asked, tears welling up in her eyes. I was flustered, trying to comfort her. But the mother-in-law and brother-in-law didn't stop. No, that's just a paranoid delusion. I was just talking about the big seal coming to the zoo, right? Ted's brother said. Seals wave their flippers and make a ho-ho sound, don't they? Ho-ho, it's a perfect imitation. Incredibly, he and my mother-in-law started imitating a seal, flapping their hands at their sides. Stop it please. Are you guys out of your mind? I exclaimed in surprise. Rose burst into tears and stormed out of the house. I got up to follow her, shouting at my mother-in-law. How can you people be so inconsiderate and rude? No wonder, Rose, and I don't want to live with you, I yelled. Ted then spat out, you're all high and mighty because you work, but you're just a woman trying to live on her own. You'll end up on the streets just like Rose. Don't think of threatening divorce, you'll regret it. His words hit a sore spot. Indeed, although I was in a more advantageous position than Rose, the fact that I couldn't easily say, fine, let's divorce, was also true. At any rate, I absolutely refused to live together. I said that and stormed out of the in-laws' house. I wanted to find Rose and comfort her. After searching around town for a while, I found Rose trudging along. Rose. Kate. When Rose turned around, her face was a mess from crying. I somehow calmed Rose down and took her to a nearby cafe. I can't stand it anymore, she said once we were seated. I've always been bullied by my mother-in-law, and he never helps me. I agreed with her. Yeah, I guess both your brother-in-law and Ted are such mama's boys. I sighed. It's not just the bullying from my mother-in-law. I can't stand his cheating anymore. Even my mother-in-law is helping him cheat. Suddenly, this topic came up, and I was taken aback. Oh, wait a minute. Your brother-in-law is cheating and your mother-in-law is helping. Didn't you know? He's been cheating for a while. He says he's going to see his mother, but actually he's on a date with his mistress, and his mother is helping him create an alibi even though she knows what's going on. Rose poured out her feelings, crying all the while. I sympathized deeply with Rose. She was bullied by her mother-in-law, cheated on by her husband. What a pitiful situation. It's no wonder you're upset. It's heartbreaking. But why do you put up with it? Even if you're worried about living alone, you don't have to endure that much, I said, intending to encourage Rose. Rose looked up and stared at me with a puzzled look. Why am I putting up with it? That's because I thought you are too. Huh. Then Rose began to tell me an astonishing story. After hearing everything, Rose and I decided to team up and take revenge on my in-laws. Every one of them in that house is outrageous. There's no reason for Rose and me, the two wives, to be ridiculed and stay silent. We would pay them back double for the humiliation we've suffered and knock them down. That happened a month after Rose and I made that resolve. Our mother-in-law had once again summoned us together. Quietly, Rose and I prepared without telling our husbands. It was a perfect opportunity. With resolve, we headed for our husband's family home. I'm really going to need one of you to live with me. Our mother-in-law approached the topic of cohabitation again. After all, I'm getting old and you girls will need to take care of me eventually. Consider it practice. Rose spoke up before I could. I won't do it. I absolutely refuse to live here. If that becomes the condition, I will get a divorce. Her tone was different this time, more decisive, which seemed to take our mother-in-law by surprise. Be ridiculous. What about you, Kate? Now it was my turn. Huh? I responded. So basically, you want us to live with you because you want us to take care of you, correct? Well, yes, that's part of it. But I also don't want to be alone. I want to live with one of my sons. When neither Rose nor I agreed, our mother-in-law began to grow impatient. Really? Can't you girls understand a simple request? This isn't a request, it's an order. Live with your husband here. Rose and I exchanged a look and nodded. We refuse. Perhaps this person could do it instead. I then spread a handful of photos across the table. What? What is this? Ted and his brother gasped. You see, those photos are evidence that Ted and his brother have been having affairs. Pictures of them entering hotels with women, kissing in the shadows of telephone poles. So you two have been cheating together. Such good brothers. And it seems our mother-in-law knew about it and yet helped you guys create alibis. And now, after all that, you dare to ask us to live with and care for you? How shameless. Rose nodded along at my side. If you need someone to care for you, ask these women in the photos. We're going to divorce, so we won't live with or care for you. But that's a problem. Our mother-in-law stuttered. A problem? We have no problems at all, right, Rose? I said. Rose grinned. If you divorce, you'll be the one with problems. There's no way a housewife like you can survive on your own. Ted's brother raged. Was he trying to mimic a sea lion again like he did a month ago? Not this time. The threat of divorce is just a bluff, Ted's brother sneered. Oh, I won't have any issues. I plan to take a substantial amount of compensation from you, Rose said with a clear face. What? I also intend to demand compensation from your mistress. I should be able to rent a small apartment and re-establish my life with that. I'll have to find a job, of course, but I'm determined to make it on my own. I'll help you, Rose. We two women will support each other and overcome the situation. If I use my personal savings, I can manage to live for the time being, I added. With that, Rose and I stood up, resolute and united in our decision. Once Rose squeezed compensation from her husband and his mistress, we arranged for her to repay me with a little interest. We had to squeeze money out of these two no matter what. Oh, Ted, I also plan to demand compensation from you and your mistress. Even though I work, money is never enough for a divorcee in her 40s, I declared to Ted, who clung to me. I'm sorry, it was just a fling. I wasn't serious, he pleaded. Whether you were serious or not, an affair is an affair. I've already consulted with a lawyer, so please make your excuses to them, I said, handing Ted and his brother-in-law business cards of a lawyer's office. The lawyer on the card was the same for both. We had both hired the same lawyer at the same time and managed to get a small discount on the retainer. A sort of bundle deal, you might say, a clever trick worthy of a wise housewife. Hold on, let's talk this out. Please, not a divorce. I apologize. I'm begging you. Ted and his brother-in-law both knelt and apologized on the spot. But my mother-in-law got even angrier and started shouting. Well, if you're going to divorce, just do it. Can't stand a little infidelity from your husband. I don't need such an intolerant daughter-in-law. Then Rose laughed all of a sudden. She looked so confident. After all, a woman becomes strong with a bang. Mother-in-law, you're quite tolerant of infidelity, aren't you? Could it be because you've been in the same boat? My mother-in-law was taken aback. What are you talking about all of a sudden? Didn't he cheat back in the day? That's what I heard from the neighbors, with a part-time student from Ted's swim club. What on earth is going on with your family's DNA? I know that your late husband was so diligent, I added. Who told you such nonsense? My mother-in-law demanded. Who knows? Maybe you should ask around. Well, we're going to go pack up our things. Rose and I stood up simultaneously. With bright smiles, we said, please enjoy your time. After that, Rose and I each went back to our homes, gathered our pre-packed belongings, and left. We'd already rented an apartment, so we met up there. We received numerous calls from Ted and my brother-in-law on our mobile phones, but we ignored them all and left everything to our lawyer. After a while, our double divorce was finalized, and we got our alimony. My mother-in-law's plan to have her daughter-in-law take care of her was foiled, and she had to rely on her two sons. Apparently, there's now a quarrel between my brother-in-law and Ted over who has to take care of her. Come back, it was my fault. Let's start over. I'll be waiting for you at the restaurant where we used to go on dates. Such Romeo-like emails from my brother-in-law and Ted kept arriving on Rose's and my phone. Every night after work, we would read these emails, have a drink, and laugh at our ex-spouses. Hey Rose, do you know which restaurant he's talking about? I asked. I'm not sure. The restaurant we used to date at has been demolished though. I wonder where he's waiting, she replied. For a while, it was just the two of us and the cat. When Rose found a job, she moved out of the apartment. We escaped from that toxic family together and planned to keep in touch and support each other in the future. As I pet my beloved cat and drink my coffee, I'm enjoying my peaceful life.